I think you're amazing.
You are too, Henry.
Thank you so much. Well, Perry, you are awesome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, and I appreciate you what you're doing too, buddy.
Well, thank you. Because if you allow the world to define you, if you allow friends to define you, if you allow your spouse to define you, or anybody to define you outside of how God sees you, that does open the door to rejection. God bless you, and I hope y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you, Brother Henry.
Thank you.
God bless you too. Thank you for having us.
Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I'm your host, Henry Harris. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have an amazing subject for you today. I understand that this is for many of us, is a controversial subject, and that's the subject of police brutality. Yes, we're going to talk about it. I understand a lot of people sweep it under the rug, don't want to talk about it. But we're going to come to you from what I would call a fair and balanced and healthy approach. And what I mean is that this is not, I know a lot of people, when they discuss subjects like this, they make it all into some political and part of some agenda. I'm only sharing my thoughts. I have no hidden motives in discussing this topic. I'm only discussing my observation and what I see. I realize that a lot of people have a lot of opinions about subjects like this, and I feel like everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I feel like that I am entitled to mine. But it will be very cordial, it'll be very respectful, and I believe ultimately educational, because like I say, we need to raise an awareness. That's the whole intent of this video, of this show today, is to raise an awareness about police brutality, because it is certainly happening. I mean, unless you live under a rock, it's certainly happening, and I feel like it is important to discuss these issues. So today, we're going to talk about police brutality, and today I would like to address that subject. I want to first of all extend my sympathy and condolences to all the families and victims of those who have suffered by or under the hands of law enforcement. Hopefully today's show will encourage and raise awareness on this subject and provide some form or sense of comfort. So the motto of the police is protect and serve. Many would say that police or law enforcement are here to keep us safe, to protect the helpless, to protect the weak, to protect the defenseless, and to provide some sense of safety. But do you always feel safe when you are around police officers? Do you always feel that sense of security when you're around law enforcement? It is the police that we call when we are in trouble. It is the police that we call when we have some form or emergency situation. Why? Because they are here to protect and serve their community. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to law enforcement, to all police officers that's watching right now. I want to say thank you for protecting and serving the citizens of your community. I do support law enforcement, and I appreciate the hard work that you do to keep us safe. I want to also throw this in here. This show is not about bashing the police. We're not doing that here. We're not bashing the police. We're not coming down on the police. But I appreciate those who are in it for the long haul, who do have good hearts. And I say this because I'm good friends with some police officers that have always been kind to me and respectful towards me and treated me with dignity and class. They do exist. So I do appreciate law enforcement, but the good ones. I have to make that distinction. While many say that law enforcement is here to protect us, it is obvious that in many cases that motto, protect and serve, is gradually changing. There are many who don't feel protected and safe for one reason or another. I am sure many of us have had our share of dealing with the police. Some of us have had good experiences, and some of us have not had so many good experiences dealing with the police. So let's face it, we're talking about police brutality. Police brutality has always been around. It's just that we live in an era or a time now where much police brutality is no longer going unnoticed or unseen. That includes everything from cop cameras, the cameras that the cops have on their chest, to cell phones. People are now recording these tragic events that happen, and for much of it, it receives national attention. So let's set the record straight. And I'm saying this deeply from my heart. And I want you to really listen to what I'm about to say. Police brutality is wrong. Any use of excessive force or extreme form of police misconduct is wrong. This goes from everything to asphyxiation, to beatings, to shootings. No matter who it's done to, where it's done, it is wrong. And if you are exhibiting this type of behavior as a police officer, you probably need to change your profession. You are in the wrong profession. Everyone that is a cop doesn't really need to be a cop. There are a lot of people today, and I've seen videos, I've seen situations where I'm like, why is this lady or why this guy is even a police officer? I mean, they're easily angered, they're on the edge. You don't need to be in that profession. Anything can go down. Anything can turn out tragic. I believe police should be mentally strong. All police officers should be mentally strong and stable to discern and judge certain situations and to handle those situations in an effective way. Now, I'm not a police officer. I wouldn't know what to do in a bad situation. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, law enforcement are trained to approach and to handle certain situations in an effective way where nobody gets hurt and nobody gets harmed. There are many in law enforcement that are simply unfit to serve. Some are very angry, as I just said. Some of them are on the edge. Some of them are even mentally unfit, among many other issues. There's no need to display physical violence towards anyone, especially those who are unarmed. Many victims to police brutality died by the hands of police. Never had a weapon in their hand. Never had a gun in their hand. Some of them have even complied. And I hate when people say, well, if they just comply. Well, some people have had, I know there was one guy in Tulsa who had his hands up in the air and still got shot. He complied, but he still got shot. But they still lost their life. And the famous line is that we hear from many police officers, well, I feel threatened for my life. Now, let me see if I can understand this correctly. How is it that the individual is running away from you and you shoot him or her, but you felt threatened for your life? How is it that this individual is unarmed? That means they have no gun, no knife, nothing that would display a threat towards you or your life, but you still feel threatened. Do you think there's something bigger that's going on behind the scenes that we may not know about? At this point, many would insert the word racism. Do I think racism plays a part in police brutality? Yes. I do believe that racism plays a part in police brutality. Do I believe that all cops are racist? No. But let me make it clear. As of 2021, these were the stats. The highest rates of deaths of police violence occurred among Black Americans, who were estimated to be 3.5 times more likely to experience fatal police violence. You can look that up. You can research that. Go on YouTube. Look at the videos. I saw a long list of Black Americans who have suffered by the hands of police brutality. Now, let me say this. There are a lot of people that are going to say, well, Brother Henry, white people suffer by the hands of police brutality. Asian people suffer by the hands of police brutality. These people suffer, or that group, or that race suffers at the hands of police brutality. Can I tell you something? I agree with you. That does happen, but based off of the statistics, it is more common for an African American, Black and brown people to suffer at the hands of police brutality. They are 3.5 times more likely to experience fatal police violence. And I'm not just making it up. You can YouTube it. You see it on TV. Like I said, these days people are videoing it. There are police officers these days that lie about how it went down. Oh, well, he tried to run a red light and he tried to attack me. And then when you see the video, guess what? How many times we've seen this? It's a whole different story than what the testimony that the police officer had presented. So we see this going all the time. So I'm not just making it up. I'm not just making stats up. I'm just stating facts. Again, my observation on what I see. I believe that police brutality, like I said, no matter who's experiencing it, I don't care if a white guy was experiencing police brutality, it's wrong. It's wrong. If it was a black guy, it's wrong. It doesn't matter who's experiencing police brutality, it's wrong. Now, does this mean that other races are not experiencing? No, but if they were experiencing it, I would love to see it on video. Let's address some of the tragic events that we know of. Mr. Wright, many of you know him. After pulling Wright over, officers attempt to arrest him for an outstanding warrant. Following a struggle, Wright got back into his car. Kimberly Potter shot him. Wright drove several blocks before hitting another vehicle. The chief of Brooklyn Police Center said the officer who shot Wright meant to use a taser. Wright was 20 years old. How many of y'all remember that story where the officer, oh, I thought that was a gun. She pulled out her taser. How can you not know the difference between a gun and a taser? That's another show for another day. Many of us are familiar with the story of George Floyd. He was 46 years old. He died when the police officer, Derek, knelt on Floyd's neck for almost 9 minutes while Floyd was handcuffed. Floyd was handcuffed and his face was laying on the ground in the streets. He still placed his knee on his neck. He died. Many of you are probably familiar with Breonna Taylor. She was 26 years old, who was fatally shot by the police. They breached her door. They breached her door with a battering ram and entered without even knocking on her door and opened fire and shot her dead. Those are just a few, but you can look up more. There are many who have died. I believe that a lot of this is race motivated, but not all of it. I believe that every situation should be discerned and judged differently. Do I believe a lot of it is results in racism? Yes. However, I believe that there are different motives to every case that happens. Racism may be the ultimate motive, but I don't believe that racism is the motive in every situation. Reason why I say that is because we just recently had a situation with Tyre Nichols, who was shot by 5 black police officers. They beat him, which later on resulted into his death. So we have to stand up and address this issue. No one should have to die for a broken tail light. No one should have to die for a simple traffic violation. We want to go home to our families just like you want to go home to yours. It should be a death sentence to violate a traffic laws. These senseless killings and beatings, no matter who is directed towards, needs to come to an end. And if you feel like that there's nothing that will stop it, you are part of the problem. I've heard a lot of people say that, well, there's no legislation, there's no law they can put into place that will stop it. Police officers are going to keep, you know why they keep doing it? Because we are allowing them to keep doing this. It has become the norm. Because nobody is standing up saying, hold on, this is wrong. This is not okay. That's why we have to reevaluate that word, protect and serve, because oftentimes it's no longer protect and serve, it's protect and kill. That's what's really going on today. And it's sad. Many people have asked me, do I think all cops are bad? I don't think all cops are bad. I think there is bad and good in everything. There are good doctors, there's bad doctors. There are good nurses, there are bad nurses. There are good cops, there are bad cops. There are good judges, there are bad judges. You have good restaurants and you have bad restaurants. You have good marriages, bad marriages. I mean, you have a good car, a bad car. You see, there's always the opposite of both. There's good and bad in everything. But I believe what makes the good cops look bad is when they don't speak out against it. And I don't mean you need to stand on a platform and say, police brutality is wrong. But even if it's just in a conversation with someone or a friend or on social media, in whatever way you choose, you should raise an awareness about it. Because if you just sitting back on the sideline and just watching these things happen and you are a cop, you are, in my opinion, you are just as reliable than the person who actually took out and shot the gun. How many times have we seen situations like that? Oh, they're good cops. Okay, so this cop pulled out their gun or whatever and shoots this person down, and you're sitting there watching. Why wouldn't you stop it? Why wouldn't you stop it? But they're a good cop. Again, I do believe that there are good cops out there, but if you just sit back and you see these things happening and you don't say anything, you are just as reliable as the person who actually did it. And I'm also appalled that many churches are not discussing this subject or talking about it. I wonder why. They say that the church is the most powerful voice in the world. Where is your voice now as it relates to police brutality? Why won't you talk about it? Are you threatened by something? Do you think somebody's going to leave your church? I mean, do you think you're going to lose your salary? What is the issue? Why do most churches and leaders and pastors will not address this subject? Because if you're not, you need to. Nobody said you need to make it your theme every Sunday morning. But maybe in a Bible study, maybe you should turn it into a Sunday morning sermon. It's not right because it goes against everything that Jesus ever stood for. Everything. So, I don't believe all cops are bad. There's bad in everything, just as there's good. It's just weeding out the bad ones. That's what we need to do, weed out the bad ones. I really hope that today's episode inspired you. I really hope that it raised an awareness. I really hope that you understand that the whole premises of my message today is just to say police brutality is wrong. It's wrong. And we need to put a stop to it. The only way we can put a stop to it is we have to raise an awareness about it. And like I said earlier, if you believe that it doesn't exist, if you believe it's not happening, maybe you would think differently. If you ended up being a victim like many of these other people, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Mr. Nichols, all these other people have died, Eric Garner, all these people that died at the hands of police brutality, maybe you would believe differently if it happened to you and your family. It's wrong, and let's put a stop to police brutality today. And do you know how you can do that? You can do that by sharing this video on your timeline. Share this video. Connect with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel right now, Henry Harris 100 on YouTube. Go to Facebook, follow us, The Brother Henry and You Show. I look forward to joining you there. God bless you.
Well, Perry, you are awesome.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, and I appreciate you what you're doing too, buddy.
Well, thank you.
Because if you allow the world to define you, if you allow friends to define you, if you allow your spouse to define you, or anybody to define you outside of how God sees you, that does open the door to rejection.
God bless you. I hope y'all have an amazing day.
Thank you, Brother Henry.
Thank you.
God bless you too. Thank you for having us.